Discover the secrets of hybrid authorship with Sacha Black, Gail Carriger, Rachael Herron, and Helen Scheuerer in this exclusive multi-part interview series. These accomplished writers will share their journey, combining traditional and independent publishing to build a thriving career in the literary world. If you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Katlyn Duncan, and I'm a hybrid author, which means I publish both traditional and independent books. Here on my channel, we talk about the writing process and all the bookish things. And this month, I am releasing my next nonfiction book for authors, The Successful Hybrid Author, where I talk about how you can become a hybrid author, and the book includes case studies with 4 incredible authors from which you're going to hear from today. And as a special bonus, if you pre-order The Successful Hybrid Author and you email me your proof of purchase at this address, also linked in the description, then you will automatically get a free starter workbook on how to become a hybrid author today. And for the month of January only, my first nonfiction book, Take Back Your Book, An Author's Guide to Rights Reversion and Publishing on Your Terms, is available for only 99 cents for the ebook. This book is a must-read for any author looking to take control over their career. So let's get on with the interviews.
I'm hybrid at the moment because of translation rights. I'm considering attempting to be hybrid on other fronts, and there were sort of 2 reasons for me. One is that selling sub-rights means that you get to keep control of what rights you sell, whilst also making the most of your intellectual property and handing off the parts of the business that you either couldn't do or don't have the capacity to do. So for example, I've sold Korean translation rights on all of my nonfiction books. Even if I were going to invest in translations, I wouldn't start with Korea. I would probably start with German or Spanish. For me, it made a lot of business sense because they want craft books in their market, and I don't have the business capacity to market in that language. I don't have the capacity to do the translation work. So that's the first reason why, is it made business sense because I personally wasn't going to do that work, and everybody wins, right? I get some money for the translation, they get the content, they get to market it and sell it, everybody wins. The other reason for going hybrid is that I'm moving into a new genre, and currently that market is very dominated by traditional publishing. So there would be a strategic business reason for, if not going fully trad with that genre, the books that I write in that genre, maybe partially trad. I've got some interest already, and I am looking at potentially querying and putting some information into various publishers on that genre, because the market is owned by trad. Now, the reasons for not doing it would be that I could build a market. You know, if I write the stuff and there is a market there, you just have to change your marketing methods in order to access it. But I suppose for me, it's a decision of what is going to bring me the most value. Yes, I would lose my rights on a particular book, but what is that going to give me in exchange, and how will that impact then my self-published books that will be in the same genre?
It's an interesting one because I didn't really sit down and make that decision like as a part of a strategy or anything. It wasn't long after Heart of Mist released that I was contacted by, I can't even remember the order of it now, whether the agent came first or the deal came first. But Heart of Mist had come out, it had done very well. And that's only something I've really understood fully more recently. Like at the time, I didn't realize how well it was doing. I had no sort of, sample of books to sort of go off. It was just the first one I'd done, and it had done really well. So it sort of attracted the attention of a couple of audiobook publishers and a couple of agents as well. And so suddenly I had offers in my inbox for it, and I didn't really know what to do with them. I think in the end I sort of decided, like, I didn't have the knowledge, the time, or the money to publish my own audiobooks, and I also didn't have the inclination. Like, I don't like my accent. I don't, it wasn't something I wanted to do, and I couldn't see myself doing that. So it was then just sort of a matter of, going with the agent, and then she organised sort of, I think it's a bit much to say a bidding war, but she sort of pitted the two offers I had against each other, from two of the publishers, and who was it? Audible got the rights to the Oromir Chronicles, which is the first trilogy. The Heart of Mist is the starting book for. So that's sort of how it all came about. And yeah, it wasn't when I got the deal for Heart of Mist and the rest of the books, like they wanted the whole series from that first book, which was pretty cool. And yeah, the audiobooks sort of came out following each book in the series. Like we didn't do a simultaneous release or anything because they were a little bit behind, but it just all sort of kick-started from there. It wasn't like a strategic move on my part, but I think I sort of realised that I wouldn't be able to produce an audiobook myself, and it was sort of leaving money on the table to not take up one of these offers.
I have tie-in novellas. So How to Marry a Werewolf is an example of that. This is I take popular side characters from any of those series and then write little novellas or long novellas, so like 50,000 worders or so, like novellas by sci-fi fantasy standards rather than romance standards, and have lots of favorite characters show up, lots of tie-ins happening, but they tend to all be standalones, and that's personal preference. I really like writing standalones. It also allows me to jump around to different time periods. Since I have this huge arcing series, it goes from basically the 1840s all the way up to the turn of the century. So I can kind of write whichever character at whatever point in time I feel like. And that's, as somebody who really likes the historical aspect of writing steampunk, that's really fun for me. These were also an opportunity for me to explore other things like really romantic arcs or the sort of, I really liked exploring the sort of unexplored aspect of romance in particular. So one of my most recent ones, Ambush or Adore, is a long pining romance that actually spans the same time period as my entire book series. So this is a couple that met and sort of fell in love as kids in the young adult finishing school series, but then never get together until they're in their 60s. And part of that is like, I just kind of wanted to explore what it's like to write a romance for an older couple. Because it's a sort of neglected bracket. So I do stuff like that with my indie stuff and with my spin-offs, stuff that's sort of experimental that maybe traditional wouldn't want or doesn't really care about. And then I also got to branch off. So now I'm doing quite a bit more science fiction as well. So I wrote like a queer sci-fi cozy space mystery romance thing. Again, me and like all the genres I can fit into one book. It's called The Fifth Gender. And I just did a YA sci-fi adventure novel called Crud Rat. That one just came out. And that's just because I'm not sure trad really wants sci-fi from me, but also, I can just put it out there and see if people like it and people are interested in it. And that's part of it. I think the opportunity to simply let your muse go is something that indie authors, especially those of us who've focused on being as wide as possible by default or necessity, can really just kind of play with. I get to get out of my niche when I want to. All of that said, I just finished a 3-book YA space opera trilogy, which I think my agent will probably pitch to traditional publishers. So I'm not entirely against it, but I have very specific reasons for returning to traditional.
Yes, because it was a really circuitous, weird route. My first 3 books were traditionally published by HarperCollins. It was a series. And my agent also that was HarperCollins. My agent also sold that series to Penguin Random House in Australia because she kept world rights. In Australia and New Zealand, it became a bestseller. People loved those books. In America, I couldn't sell them. They did fine, but the first book did fine. The second 2 books just flopped. So HarperCollins did not want to renew the contract. They wanted no more books in that series. However, Australia, Penguin Random House did, because it was just Penguin then. And so they paid me good money to write those books, and they did all the, professional editing, copy editing, proofing, all of that. But they only had rights to sell them in Australia and New Zealand. So now I had these 2 books in the series that were not going to be published anywhere in the world. And nobody wanted them in America because HarperCollins didn't want them. And nobody wanted books 4 and 5 of a series that a different publisher had, which makes total sense. So I decided to self-publish them. And I learned from that experience that it was so fun to have that control. I just enjoyed the whole process so much. And then Penguin wanted another 3 books from me in a different series. And the same thing happened. So the books themselves were hybrid, which is how I got into hybrid publishing. They were traditionally published in the Antipodes, and I self-published them everywhere else. And I really got the taste for it. And those were in the romance. I write in 5 different genres, but those were in the romance genre, which sells really well in the indie space. So then I wrote another 2 series. Yeah, I wrote another 2 romance series, 4 books and 3 books that I put out there all just by myself. I didn't even offer them to my agent. I just self-published them. And since then, I have also self-published 3 works of nonfiction. I recently got the rights back for a memoir that was 10 years old. So I did a 10-year anniversary edition of that, added some more essays, and I did the audiobook, which my publisher at the time had never wanted to have done, and I didn't have the rights to do it. So I was able to do the audiobook for myself for A Life in Stitches, which has been just so amazing. And I recently got back the first 3 books in that original series. So now I own all 5 books in that series all over the world. So I was really kind of prevented for a long time to do anything. Like I could sell books 4 and 5 at $3.99 or $4.99, but the first 3 books all sold at $9.99 for an ebook, and they were 10 years old. Nobody was going to pay that. So having total control over those books now has been really, really fabulous.